What is up, everybody? I'm Chad Brock, and Zach Bailiff's missing, but he'll be here maybe later. Who knows? You guys are watching the Orion Podcast. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Orion Podcast. It feels like it's been a hot minute. I know that for me, as you can see by the bad tan lines that I've got going on, I've been on the water for like 2 straight weeks, and happy to be back at home. Happy to be here in the, I guess you would call it the Orion Podcast studio. Got new swag going on, more swag coming right there. Wherever. It's all backwards. If you're wondering why we point the wrong direction, that would be it. So yeah, very cool stuff. We've took off and went down to the big tournament down at Pickwick for the USA Bass, and also part of wasn't actually is the big boat side of the USA Bass and not necessarily the JK Trail, but we gave away some cool Orion coolers to the big boat guys. Being my good buddy Adam Marshall fished in that event, placed in, gosh, I don't even remember. We were up above the top one. We were in the top 100, well above 100. I just don't remember where off the top of my head. It was tough fishing, as most of you are kind of seeing out there. I'm sure that conditions are a little bit behind. Everything's running about 2 weeks off or a little bit more. So yeah, it was made for a great event. A lot of guys struggled. Some guys caught them the first day. They didn't catch them the second day. And yeah, so it was interesting. Came back home, jumped right back into the JK Trail here locally in Indiana. Still tough conditions, and everybody's just grinding through it. So it's a fun deal. We'll get to hear about that a little bit later from our guest that we've got here tonight. He's got some big things going on. He's got a lot going on. I'm not quite sure how he gets it all done. But if he's anything like me, he just gets up early and goes. That's just how you do it. We've got some good people out in the audience tonight. Hello, Miss Jean, Mr. Jesse, and then Mr. Christopher. Yeah, Christian. And then Jason. What's going on, man? Good to have you here in the audience. But without further ado, let's introduce tonight's special guest, Mr. Lance McWhorter. Welcome back, buddy. Well, welcome to the Orion Podcast. You've technically not been here yet.
Yeah, first timer, man. You hear me okay?
I can hear you great, man.
All right, cool. Yeah, I had a little technical difficulty getting signed in the studio because, like you said, running out of time, not having enough time to do anything. I choked down dinner in about 2.5 minutes and then ran out here and tried to get everything set up. But yeah, glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me on the Orion Podcast. It's first time here. So
yeah, your Missile Baits shirt reminds me of my time down at Pickwick. We found that when you go to the big lakes, you always find that one gas station that has the good tackle.
Oh yeah,
I found that gas station, and I have, because of these, I have several new missile jigs. I bought missile jigs every time I went in there. The old Bitsy Flip, the half ouncers.
Yeah. Their jigs are sleepers, man. Like a lot of people don't like they know the D bombs and they know the quiver worms and the 48s and things like that, but a lot of people don't realize that
The
You
mini
know,
flip.
Ike really went all out with Missile and making those jigs, and they're phenomenal. I mean, jigs are just great
They are.
tools anywhere, but I mean, just the way that they engineered those things, they just hook up, they catch fish. The new mini swim jigs are just lights out good. They're just and a great company. And I'm sure we'll circle back to those guys a little later. They're
They're
fantastic
awesome.
people. You know, John Cruz and Byron and Alex and Miles and all those guys are just fantastic people.
Yeah, and for those of you that have never tried that jig, highly recommend it. You will be surprised about how little you hang that jig up, especially the mini flip.
Mm-hmm.
You will be surprised. But I mean, dude, like we've had you on the Doc Talk, we've had you on everything else, but your story is bigger than just fishing, man. I mean, you've got like a plethora. I mean, you like I said, you probably start your day hoping that you can, if you could just get 4 more hours in a day,
Yeah.
you could get just that much more done.
Cool.
But let's start at the beginning. Let's jump into the nuts and bolts. How did you find your passion in the outdoors? Like where did this all begin? Take us back to the beginning.
Oh man, like bass fishing, it started on kind of up by Lake Louisville in Dallas. I had some my grandparents had a mobile home on the lake in a little, like 1970s kind of retirement mobile home park on a little lake called Lake Kiowa. And they had a dock out back with those old rusty tetanus lawn chairs that you see now selling for $200 at the antique stores,
Antique stores, yep.
but my mamaw would put me in a life vest and clip a dog leash to it, and that dog leash should be attached to the leg of her chair. And she would turn me loose with a cane pole, and I would fish off that dock for as long as they'd let me. And I think I was about 2, and that just became kind of all that I did, and all that I thought about was fishing. And then as I got older, hunting, and I mean, it's just something that was so thoroughly ingrained in my DNA. My papa was just an insane fisherman. It's and he actually got I think he got kind of upset when I kind of always leaned towards catching bass, because he was a brim guy, and he really liked eating them, and wasn't a huge fan of eating bass. But we would eat whatever we'd catch. I mean, that was food, and
Right.
and there's actually a dish on my menu right now that's inspired by the way that my mama would make would make bass with cornbread and black-eyed peas. And it's it's just, it goes back that far. And I fished my whole life. When I was a teenager, we moved up to Utah, so I got into mountain fishing and trout fishing and walleye fishing, ice fishing a little bit. But it's just, fishing has always been a part of my life. So it's it's continued on. Throughout my service, all the places I got to go, I was always fishing. When I was over in Iraq doing, high threat diplomatic security, we were fishing Saddam Hussein's ponds and his palaces for peacock bass. It's and then I came home, and that's where I found my love for kayak fishing. And here we are.
That's awesome, dude. And kind of, you mentioned the Saddam Hussein's pond in the in the peacock bass in a dock. That was a cool story, man. I was kind of hoping you to go into that one just a little bit.
It's I mean, you said, traveling around in the military and stuff like that, we'd always fish. We'd go to places and we'd fish. And I fished the Persian Gulf. I fished, all over the Micronesian and the Polynesian islands in Australia. And I fished, I was stationed in Hawaii forever. I fished out there. So everywhere you travel, there's always some cool spots to fish. And I went to it was probably my 3rd or 4th contract assignment that I was on, and I was doing high threat diplomatic security for the State Department in the Green Zone in Baghdad. And there's a place there called Prosperity, and it's one of Saddam's old one of his old palaces that we thoroughly wrecked, and then we rebuilt for our use. So like his grand ballroom was our gym, and all of the rest of the palace was like our training grounds for doing close quarters combat and stuff like that. But on these grounds were these enormous ponds. They were all, concrete lined, like big pools of roads went all around them. We jog around them every day. Well, there was me and a buddy, and both of us into fishing, and we noticed one day that, there was these little souks, like these little shops the locals
Mhm.
would set up inside the base. And we noticed that one of them was selling like this kind of reverse engineered, like Chinese fishing gear, and had some lures and stuff like that. And we were asking him, like, dude, like, where do people fish? He's like, no, pond's right here full of fish. We're like, no way. I mean, all we could think of is you're going to just, start snagging onto bodies and stuff when you're going through that.
Right.
You know, being Saddam doing some off with their heads type and kicking them over the wall,
Just being where you
and
were.
yeah, just come up with a hand or something, and but now we bought into it, man. We got old boys fishing tackle, and we'd go out there. We started catching fish. I mean, you'd catch peacock bass, you'd catch, I mean, all sorts of just weird freshwater fish in there. I mean, there was people that were telling us that, he had all sorts of stuff stocked in there. And I mean, you look at the guys, other palaces and other places that I'd been were stocked with game. When I was down in
Wow.
Nazaria, like Dequar province, there was still wild animals that you'd still see running around out there. You'd see, hyenas and stuff. Like it was pretty weird. So I mean, I guess the dude was into it, so it just benefited us there in the long run. But yeah, we'd sit there on that wall and 120 degrees out and fish.
Hey, any big ones? That's the real question.
Nah, not really. I mean, I think they kind of grow to their environment, and there wasn't, a ton of structure other than, previously aforementioned, instead of rock piles, you had, I don't know, skull piles or whatever down in there.
Right, right.
So, I mean, there wasn't a lot for them to, I think, whatever was in there kind of could only get so big. But I mean, just your good standard run of the mill, 15, 16, 17 inches. And I mean, nothing huge.
I mean, hey, in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, I mean, it was fishing. We were fishing.
It's fishing.
Mm-hmm.
It is fishing. So you come back, you find kayak fishing. Now, how did kayak fishing come about? Like, just something you've found on your own, or did someone else?
Yeah, there's I always call him my adopted dad, Hemp Deuce. He's now passed on. He's former Special Forces medic, one of the great mentors of my life, and he and I fished all the time. And I'd been seeing these fishing kayaks around, and I rolled out to. I mean, I'd just come home. I just gave up contracting and had decided that I was going to be a chef, and but I had a little break in there, like maybe 4, 5, 6 months, where I just kind of decompressed and just kind of hung out, intent on burning through my savings and what have you. And so yeah, I found fishing kayaks, and I went and I got myself a Perception Pescador 12, and it was, I'm not one that would bash a product, but it was miserable. I mean, it floated. I caught fish on it. I could paddle around and fish on it all day, but man, it was uncomfortable. It was a little, sit on top with the back pad, like zip seat, and it was, your butt's wet all day, and it's just, it was pretty miserable. But I mean, I caught some big fish out of that thing, and I just really fell in love with it. And then one day, Ham, my buddy, he goes, man, there's these. I'm watching this kayak fishing show here that was on some sports channel or whatever, and it was some guy going down the Devil's River, and he had a CUDA, and both of us were just like, oh my, yeah, like that's it right there. We need to get one of those. So we started researching I mean, this is 2013, I think, and so we started digging around and looking at shops, and we found the gang down there at TNG Canoes in San Marcos was this Jackson dealer, and we rolled out there, and we both got set up with brand new Jackson kayak CUDA 14s, and rigged them out, loaded them up, and we just, every waking moment that we had that we weren't busy working or anything like that, we were on those CUDAs. And this is down in the hill country. So I mean, we're on the Brazos River, we're on the Guadalupe, the Llano, the Medina Lake, Medina River, just kind of all these, the Frio. I mean, like anywhere that we could put those kayaks in, we were putting those CUDAs in, and just having an absolute ball at it, But yeah, I mean, it turned into, while I was kind of looking at how to become a chef, because I had no idea. I spent my days kayak fishing, and it was kind of this little. I really think it helped me kind of reprogram myself to being out of Iraq for as long as I stayed there, and just gave me something to do with my mind and with my body, and to keep myself occupied while I kind of made that adjustment to normal life. Dr. Evil thing.
Right. That's awesome though, man. And I mean, we've alluded to it many, many times. It's kayak fishing and the outdoors has been great for a lot of service members that's come home. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's helped a lot of folks in a lot of different ways, whether it's hunting, fishing. There's something in the outdoors for everybody. It's a great place to decompress and unwind for sure. Now, I gotta ask. I mean, you're kayak fishing. You're straight home from Iraq. How did chefing come about, man?
Well, I mean, it's just when I was a teenager, I always worked in restaurants. That was kind of it's like kind of a half a homeless kid. Kind of got kicked into the system when I was young. Wound up house hopping with friends, and never had much more than a bag of clothes that I'd house hop with, and never had any money. So it was kind of I started working at restaurants when I was like 13. Started dishwashing, started prep cooking, and then got my driver's license, started doing delivery and prep cooking, and I was just always working in them. And it was kind of like this familiar home for wayward kids, and Anthony Bourdain, who had come along much later in my life, really described the culture. I mean, he's spot on about it. It's really this kind of it's like a pirate ship, So I wound up joining the Army at 17, and then went on and did my whole life after that. But cooking was always there. It was something that I always loved. I always had a passion for it. I kind of always knew that sometime it was going to come back to that. And I kept doing these things, and Charlie says kitchen chaos. Absolutely. But it just kept coming back. It's like when I got to the military, I was a firefighter. I fell in love with cooking for the guys at the station. It's like and I got these choice assignments for it. It's like when I was a probationary firefighter, I'd always get the good stations, because come to find out they were requesting me because I can cook good, and so it just kind of came up. The last few years that I was sitting in Iraq, doing security contracting, it's just I always, it was probably about the 7th time that I read Kitchen Confidential by Bourdain that I was just like, all right, yeah, man, let's do that. I've always been one of these that the number one question that I get is how have you done all these things? And I'm just like, whenever I've dreamed of doing something, I've just gone and done it. It's like, I think I was kind of isolated and pushed out on my own at so young of an age that I just never learned that we were supposed to fit this little mold, or fit within these little societal limitations that normal people have. So I'm perfectly okay with just hitting the flush button on life and starting over. I mean, when I went to cooking, I mean, I took a probably $185,000 a year pay cut to go be a line cook. I ruined myself. But here I am, 10 years later, I've got my own restaurant. I got my own bar. It's like, been on Food Network and TV and all, on Chopped, and won a bunch of awards. And it's like, you just go do it. So, I mean, I think it was just much like kayak fishing, it's just always a passion.
Right on, man. That's cool, and I think that says a lot just to a generation of people that you just kind of figure stuff out, and it's like I think it's good for people and good advice to never stop evolving, never stop changing who you are.
Yeah.
That's huge, man. It's like when people lose a goal, I'm done. I mean, it's never you've got some people that are okay, what's next? And then you've got some people that just can't figure out the process of what's next. And that's kind of when they get lost a little bit, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I'll throw you an example of it from just this last weekend. It's I mean, I'm a firm believer that people really get hung up on what didn't go right, and they really are sour on it, and they really kind of just hang on to that and just kind of get this kind of mopey thing about themselves, and so I was coming home from our tournament on USA Bass and Jackson Kayak Shell tournament on Lake Fork. And I hadn't slept in like 2 days. I got maybe an hour of sleep in the truck. I had I was calling it my Go Fast rig. It's my Tundra with the shell, and it has the deck system in the bed, so it's like a foot higher. And I was driving to Alabama to do the Bucks Island Fish Fest, and then driving back that right after that, driving 10 hours to do the Lake Fork tournament that next morning at 6 a.m. So I rigged up this like bike stand in the back and had the kayak up on it, so I could do like 90, like, so I didn't have to pull a trailer. So anyways, I go do the tournament, get done with that. I drive home. I swing by the store to grab some beer and some stuff to barbecue or grill or whatever. And I'm in my jersey, and there's this kid there, and I'm checking out, and he goes, "Well, sir, how are you today?" I looked at him. I said, "I'm living the dream, man. How are you?" And he goes, "Well, I wish I was living my dream." And I'm like, "Well, if you're not living this one, there's always another." He goes, "Well, I really wanted to be a police officer, but I just couldn't do it or whatever." This kid's like probably 18, 19 years old. And I was like, "Well, if you can't do it, do something else." I said, "Man, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut. Second grade, I got glasses and that dream was over." I'm like, "There's always another dream. There's always something else you want to do." And I'm like, "Just pick the next one and go crush it." And he's like, "That's actually a really good idea." And then he got to talk to me about fishing and things like that. He really loves to fish. And he's like, "Well, do you need a handout with your groceries?" And I'm like, "No, but if you want, you want to come out and see the kayak I got in the back of the truck, come on." And he's like, "Yep," grab my beer, and out he goes. And so we sat there and talked fishing for a second. And it's just one of those. I think I just really felt like this kid was just hung up on that. And I think that there's a lot of adults that are, and you just can't. And it's like pick those dreams, but there's no guarantee that any of those dreams are going to come true, and that shouldn't keep you from trying. It's like pick another one and go do it. It's like I was a decent kayak fisherman. I fished my whole life, but I was throw rubber worm at a bank kind of guy. I always outfished my buddies, but when I got to the point in my restaurant career to where I could actually take some time to fish, I discovered tournament fishing. And that's a whole different animal. It's like now you're traveling 12, 14, 15 hours on those national trails and competing against people that have been doing this for 10 years, 12 years, and it's a whole other, kind of set yourself up for disappointment scenario, and it's, but I saw that and I wanted to do it. I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever be good at it, but I know I want to do it. And there has to be a way to kind of be that professional level angler, even if you're not good at it yet. I kept telling people, I'm like, man, look at the Elite Series, 100 and whatever guys. Yeah. How many of them do you know by name? How many of them fish in the top 10, 20, 30, 40 every time? Not many.
How many of them blanked on Lay Lake?
Oh yeah. And other lakes before, so I just kind of looked at it like that. And I go, there's no reason that I can't, as a guy that's just fished, local tournaments for a year, not that, I won't say, I hate to say that I'm not great because I don't want it to sound like self-deprecating, because I don't see it that way. I just am being a realist. I'm not great at it yet. We're learning. Exactly. So I was kind of like, well, how do you get those sponsors and how do you get the people to help you out along your way and find the people to believe in you when you're still learning, Well, you take it and you run with it. It's like I've kind of made my whole deal off of, my podcast. That's one of the, you asked how I had time. I had to give up a few things. I had to give up my podcast, but that was the big thing about that. It was learning. It was taking people on this journey of learning how to tournament fish, and that it's okay to go out there and blank, or go out there and get 2 fish, or go out there and get 2 limits each day, or, hey, got to check on this one, it's, and it's kind of taking people along for that ride. And you can, when you really work and organize and put yourself out there in a manner that shows people that you're willing to put in the work, they don't necessarily care that you may not be hoisting trophies every weekend. when you become like kind of a positive influence to people, a lot of companies get on board with that, and that's kind of where, I said we'd make the spin around a missile, that's one of my first big sponsors, Jackson being my first huge, Jackson and Dakota Lithium are my two huge ones. They believed in me right off the bat, and they just saw that I cared, and that I tried, and I shared that with everybody out there. I would do my recaps would be like, well, I learned not to do this, but it's kind of like all you guys out there and gals that want to get into it, it's just like business or starting on a new path in life or doing whatever, or starting on that next dream. I'll tell people the only thing holding you back is fear and air, and there went all the air,
No, and I tell you, man, you remember that first tournament you ever went to, and being young and being naive, you roll in there and you just look at it and you go, oh, yeah, I got this. I got this. I can throw at that. I'm gonna catch fish here, there, and everywhere. And then you look around and you're like, everybody beats you to death, and you're just like, what happened? I mean, it's an eye-opening experience because there's just nothing better either than being around people that are doing the same thing, because like I said, you're learning, you're practicing, you're getting better, but there's something to be learned by being close, interacting with those people on the different trails, whether you're in the back of the boat, the front of the boat, in a kayak. There's something to be learned from other folks out on the water, especially the old timers.
Just going fun fishing with your buddies, whatever. Kevin Nemo just commented up there, about his first tournament ever was Lake Fork, and my man went out there and caught big bass. He got a good check off that, and I keep telling him it's because all the mojo that he got when he bought my my big rig off of me, but no, I mean, he's out there and he's learning and he's trying and he's growing and he's just investing, and the guy is like a sponge, just soaking up everything that he can learn. And I mean, we go fun fishing when I can, and I mean, he just loves it, and it's just like trying to be more inviting to people like that and trying to convince them to jump in and start tournament fishing, or just try once, I'm like, my poor dude's going to have to explain entry fees to his wife now, because he's, I promise you, after getting that big bass trophy, he's hooked,
they just keep sending it.
Yeah.
Sending it.
It's, I mean, the first national tournament that I ever did was that Fort Worth event, on the river there. And I pulled a check, everyone in our house pulled a check. And that was the day that, Jody and Guillermo, I think it was, Matt Scotch, all those guys were pulling like 112 and 110, 109. Like, I mean, it was like people, I think third place was like 104 or something,
Wow.
and I pulled, I think it was seventh, and it was the same deal. I was like, okay, I can do this. It's like, and the biggest thing is learning to make decisions and learning to, I mean, now like traveling around, it's really just learning like different bodies of water, different fish, like, and how different, going from, TVA to Hartwell to, Harris Chain and Eufaula, or, then back to like Lake Fork, or then Peak, Possum Kingdom, which is a totally different kind of lake, It's really just trying to learn all those things. And say part-time job for tournament fishing could be a yeah. I got you, buddy. You can come work at the shop.
But so you're chefing, you're on the road, you're kayak fishing, you're multitasking here. Now you had some other stuff that, I mean, you took part in starting up some other trails there in Texas, but now you've kind of started a second wave of this with the JK Trail, and you guys have actually been crushing it down there in Texas. I get to check all this. I'm the stat guy. I go in every Monday morning and I have to review and check up on all the stats. Talk a little bit about, what this has been like for you, jumping back into the director side and helping something new grow, and what you see in the future for this avenue that is USA Bass and JK Trail.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, USA Bass and JK Trail is just, from its inception, it just seemed to me like one of those trails that was designed for kind of the grassroots learning anglers to start competing and to start growing, and then have that kind of national payoff at the end of the year, with a good purse and some good prizes, and you get to travel out of state. So I mean, it really kind of appealed to me because I was just thinking, man, where was this when I first started? It's like
Right.
this is perfect. And you've got some trails around the country that have some solid JK team guys and other tournament directors that get that. And
Mhm.
so I mean, it just really seemed like the perfect fit for me with kind of my whole platform being, I'm about learning. That's my persona, is the learning guy. So I was
Mhm.
like, well, this is perfect. I just come off of a stint of a trail that I had founded. And then, as it grew, I grew in an opposite direction and parted ways with that. And USA Bass and JK Trail started like a few weeks after that. And I was just like, oh man, yeah. So slid right in there and
Yep.
offered to helm the East Texas division and we put together schedules
You guys put
real
together
fast,
a good schedule too.
and we had a solid schedule. We still do. I mean, we still got a couple more events left. But yeah, I mean, it just seemed like it just kind of fit what I wanted to do and how I wanted to grow and teach. And I mean, so I think that's where I kind of, you know, might have had an unfair advantage against some of the other TDs in USA Bass, and is that I already had a trail here, and I've got
Mhm.
a great network of people, and I kind of learned what it's like to start a trail from scratch here in East Texas. So because I'd already done it, the one that I
Right.
started before, I started in 2020, and it grew into a really popular trail. And then when this comes, I was just like, well, it's not like I don't have the same friends, so
Yeah.
it's like, let's go fishing, kids, so no, everybody's really enjoyed it. And I mean, I would encourage anybody out there that has one of these USA Bass and JK trails near them to go join it, go get in on it. The membership's
Yeah.
free. Entry fees aren't very much, I mean, it's just and they're just great events, and you've got that chance to win, not only prize money, but $5,000 in a brand new NAR. Like, yeah, dude, that's
Yeah. It's gonna be huge at the
who
end of the year.
wouldn't? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think getting to test yourself, especially if you're new or even if you lack time. Not everybody's
Mhm.
got several vacation days.
Yeah.
Some of us burn them all up on other stupid stuff.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, you got
so
a lot of people have family and kids and stuff like
yeah,
that. I
we
mean,
burn them
that's
up. I mean,
yeah.
everybody wants to do different things.
Hmm.
So, you get a fish locally, you get to go out there, test
Hmm.
yourself against your local hammers on that body of water that everybody's familiar with. And
Hmm.
you don't have to break the bank. You're not missing work. You get up on Saturday morning, you can go and you're right back home
Yeah.
ready to go to work on
Yeah.
Monday. So that's
We
perfect.
even we even do some Sunday events.
Yeah.
That's on the previous trail that I started. I fought really hard to get Sunday dates because being a chef and a restaurant owner, it's like, hey man, I'm
Yeah.
working Friday. I'm not getting home until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Saturday, same thing. It's like it would be nice to maybe only have to take Saturday night off, or leave a little early on Saturday as opposed to just, going
Mhm.
to work until 1 or 2, drive to the ramp, sleep 30 minutes, fish all day, go straight to work, which I did a lot of times. But, I just thought that Sunday events were kind of, not everybody works Monday through Friday. So that kind of
Right.
gives it gives the people who work Saturdays a chance to fish, even Saturday days. And those who do have Monday through Friday 9 to 5s, it gives them a practice day, if they want
Mhm.
to get out there on Saturday and go wet a line. So I mean, TDs out there, I would encourage you to incorporate those into your schedules, a couple
Yeah.
events out
And
of your
then
season.
we've actually got, I think Kansas might be the only one that's doing it right now that has the weeknight series.
Yeah, that's
I
pretty
know the
cool.
big boat trails all have weeknight series on the various
Hmm.
lakes, but kayak fishing weeknight trails, that's something I'm kind of excited about. I would like to see
Yeah,
that in
it's a cool
Indiana next
concept.
year. Oh, dude,
Yeah,
there's
we might
nothing
do
better
something
than
like
a
that.
weeknighter. There's nothing better than
Yeah.
a weeknighter. 3 hours to catch fish. Come on.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Like do a little 3 hour win. Yeah, just
Oh
kind
yeah,
of. And
it
they're doing it like
speeds
fish
up
your
your
own
pace.
water, or is it a specific body of water?
It's a specific body of water. So you
Okay.
show up at like a single ramp. Everybody launches from a single ramp because you're limited time, so it's a smaller
Yeah.
body of water. And yeah, man, they crash it for 3 hours. Best man wins. And what I always liked about the weeknight tournaments format was it speeds up your thought process, which
Mm-hmm.
for kayak fishing is good because we have to be about time management 100% of the time. So you really pick up the pace. You do things a lot different. You take quick risk, and you don't. If a spot's not fire right now, you're up and you're gone. You got to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, so that's kind of one of the cool things about weeknight fishing. You really learn to work with what you've got in front of you. But yeah, it's a neat format, and I'm excited to see that kind of coming into the kayak space. I think that'll be good, man. I think it'll be real cool, and it'll
We may
catch
look
those
into
guys
that
that got to
year.
work weekends.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. Kansas, like I said, not here in Indiana, not in Texas or any of the others, multiple states, Kentucky. But you do guys got a little bit of a rivalry with the Kentucky boys going there. You guys, I don't know who's had the most yet, but you guys are close.
Wait, we do?
Yeah, Kentucky's they're
I
up there.
I
Their
wasn't
first one
aware.
was up there.
Yeah, I wasn't aware we had a rivalry.
Well, it's not a rivalry. I'm just making one up. I want to see who's going to win this Orion cooler, so I'm trying to pump it up.
I already got that.
I think you won it this month.
My assistant TD and judge Dan Wynn he's already planning visitation with that cooler. He said if I win it, he definitely gets to hang on to it from time to time. So
there's a rumor you're cooking Wagyu steaks at one of these deals. I might come to that one.
I might.
Big drive, but Wagyu steak, why not?
I'm down with that.
So what is like the Lance McWhorter dish? I mean, what is the premier dish that people just got to come get?
It's I do like very kind of global, like worldly kind of food that's combined with how my little East Texas grandma taught me how to cook, So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like you may find some sort of Cajun thing mixed with, I don't know, something Middle Eastern or East African or some weird place that I've been. But really, I think what I'm most famous for is, and it's not really, I would never say it's my signature dish, but it's my pork chop is it's pretty crazy that I won. There's this like Emmy award-winning TV show called The Texas Bucket List that travels around the state and goes to all the restaurants, and at the end of the year they crown their bite of the season, and we won that thing with my pork chop. And like the guy was like, he's like, chef, when I came in, and you told me you were going to make me a pork chop, he's like, I was kind of like, really? This is like a Emmy award-winning TV show, like maybe step it up a little. And he goes, we ate it and you got the bite of the season. It's their best bite of the year was a pork chop. And I was like, I was kind of blown away by that. So, I mean, we really have, that show has that TV show has some legs to it, So we've got people all the time that are driving, 8-10 hours to come and eat a pork chop. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, we had somebody up, I want to say it was like last month. We had somebody up from Brownsville, which is like clear down on the border, like the very southern tip of Texas. They drove all the way up here to, almost to Shreveport, Louisiana, to eat a pork chop. And it's pretty fascinating. But I mean, I would say just very meat driven. Like just steaks and chops and. But I mean, like I said, I cook a lot of fish. I cook a lot of pasta. I mean, it's pretty worldly. So
you kind of had me at pork chop. I won't even lie.
Yeah, it's pretty dope pork chop.
It's hard to beat a good pork chop. So now you've got a new adventure getting ready to start. Well, it has started. There's boats on the floor. There's boats on the floor. Believe me.
Yeah, it started.
So let's talk about this new adventure. I'll let you kind of introduce the new adventure. Tell people what you're getting ready to get into.
Yeah, there's a lot of people know Billy Bones Custom Kayaks. That was kind of like my little home shop, named after a Treasure Island character. He's the dude that brings old boy the map,
Mm-hmm.
The Billy Bones was like, it was a lot of fun, It's like I was just building boats out of my house.
Mm-hmm.
for people. I built some for some of the JK team guys. I built some other brands for some guys, and it's like it came off of my love for just building things, and I really like working with 12-volt electronics, and I had a pretty good background in doing that in side jobs pretty much my whole life, doing like car audio and things like that. So, it just kind of all tied together, and it kind of started getting to where I kind of had to dial Billy Bones back because I just didn't have the space and I didn't have the resources to keep building these boats
Mm-hmm.
or to be able to order in the stuff that I need at, dealer price, or have an inventory on hand where I could just go to the shelf and pull apart. So, 2020, I guess it was, I kind of started looking around and started looking at buildings and started looking at places and kind of just making that slow plan of going, I live in this town, Tyler, Texas, that is, 120,000 people. We don't have, we don't have a dedicated kayak shop, and we don't have like a boutique, like high-end tackle shop either. Like we've got Academy and Walmart,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a couple of mom and pops that are slinging, like your latest and greatest Eagle Claw stuff, like.
Right. Yep.
But I mean,
100%.
yeah, but there's not like just a really dope boutique tackle shop, and so I kind of started asking questions. I mean, I think that's the first step that anybody should take in an adventure, is start talking to people who know more than you do.
Mm-hmm.
Which in most cases, when you're starting out on an adventure, you don't know anything. So it's just, I knew the demographic of the area because my restaurant, and I just opened a speakeasy bar behind it that has been pretty successful. So I mean, I know the demographic. I know the people that we have here. I know the spending habits. I know that I live right next to Lake Fork, Palestine, Athens,
Mm-hmm.
Rayburn. All four of those lakes have had Bass Elite, Bassmaster, or MLF, FLW tournaments on them.
Mm-hmm.
Caddo, Lake of the Pines. Like all these just blue ribbon bass fisheries are right here. Lake Tyler to the east. I mean, it's all there, and there's nobody that's in this town that's servicing those consumers. And I was just
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, so let's make a plan, start saving, start figuring out what we can do, and just put it together. And the full circle conversation back to the Missile Bates family. It's um you and the lesson to learn from it, from people out there, is to network, and to meet people, and to talk to them, and learn from them, and because there's going to come a time that where if you've proven yourself to these people, they'll be willing to give you a recommendation or a nod, or help, just an introduction.
Yep.
It's like um uh Byron and John at Missile Baits. I mean, just hands down, I will support that company till I'm absolutely dead and gone. It's just, they're just such good people, and they really want to grow the sport, including kayak.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of people, haven't got on board with the kayak thing yet, and they did. I met John when I was doing my very first Bucks Island event for Jackson Kayak, and he saw the hustle and he was impressed, and at this old dude that didn't know anything about anything except the boats that he had,
Mm-hmm.
and I was learning, and he believed in me and back. It really helped me learn a lot about the industry. So yeah, I mean, just kind of put all that together, started calling up, and I think a lot of people, when they want to do something, they put the cart before the horse, and just,
Yeah.
all right, I'm gonna open a tackle shop, and just open a tackle shop, and then worry about the rest of it later. It's like, I've been working on this for a year, or more, conceptually, but actively working on it for a long time, building relationships, and getting the right brands to want to be in that store. So I mean, we're a few weeks away from opening. I mean, 3-4, maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's really close. So we're gonna open up. It's gonna be called ETX Paddle Sports. Given my love for East Texas, all things East Texas. My restaurant is Culture ETX. It's like everything I've got has ETX in it. So it had to be ETX Paddle Sports. did up this really cool logo that's actually the hull of the Jackson Nar with ETX
Mm-hmm.
fish and stuff. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so I mean that's opening up. Got a cool showroom. Got a really cool install shop. Already got one employee lined up that's really got a great background in kayaking and knows about rigging and looking for more. I mean, if I hire 2, 3 people on there, I mean, I'll have probably about 20 people that are working for me now between the bar and the restaurant and the shop. So, I
Wow.
mean, it's just, kind of just building and teaching and growing with people and just,
Well,
I don't know.
it's got to instill a lot of pride to you, though. You're putting a lot of jobs back into the community right there. You're helping
Yeah,
the
totally.
community grow, not only from, you know, cooking steaks or pork chops. You're servicing community that way, but you're also employing community, and that's
Yeah.
huge, man. That's got to feel good. Proud of you.
Thank you. It is. I mean, I never thought that I would be that. I never thought that I would be a boss or employ anybody or have to worry about taxes. And I mean, like I said, I've got an 8th grade education, man. It's like I've struggled my whole life and just kind of clawed my way through it. And I mean, I learned the hard way. I just turned 50 last year. I did half a century the hard way. And it's and I did it, which means that I can straight up tell anybody in the world that with zero uncertainty that anybody out there, if you want to do something, you can do it. Like
100%.
your mom told you that and you didn't believe it. You're like, oh, mom's full of crap. No, man, you can do it. It's like I'm living proof of that. I didn't wind up dead or in a gutter or in prison. Um, quite the opposite. So it's just dream big and don't be afraid to chase it.
Now you may not become LeBron or Jordan or anything like that or Kobe, but you can be daggone good at it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, how many of those people? I mean, how many people are in the NBA making 7 figures a year that you probably don't know their name? I
Yeah,
mean,
they're out there.
I mean,
Somebody's got to practice.
in the military, whether it be in training or whether it be on the field of combat somewhere, it's always better to be the gray man. It's always better to be the dude that no one pays attention to and kind of just slides through and make they're the ones that are making things happen, but also they're the ones that aren't getting shot at. It's like
Right.
it's one of the old Rogers Rangers rules of combat is never draw incoming fire. It irritates those around you. Be the gray man, like so I mean it's okay to not be, I mean, how many people could I name in the kayak world that are absolute legends? It's like all the names that everybody knows, and I am so proud and I'm so honored to call them my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I travel with them all the time, and I have the opportunity to fish with these incredible anglers. Everywhere that every one of these stops that we go to, like Bassmaster Kayak Series. Every time I'm out there fishing an event, I mean, it's just how many people I run into and shake hands with, or give hugs, or it's just legends.
While the community seems so big, I mean, we're actually still a fairly small community. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
there's
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot of everybody at least knows of everybody
yeah, for
to a
sure.
certain extent. I think
And
that's very fair.
yeah, and it's growing by leaps and bounds, and it's just like it's just kind of fun and to be in it on the ground floor, so to speak. I mean, I know it's really not, but this is kind of like the visible ground floor. It's like it's been in the basement
Yeah.
for the last little while, and now we're finally out in the sunshine, and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
starting to show they're doing score tracker updates on the elite events, like they're just like, let's see what's going on Chickamauga with the Bassmaster Kayak Series, and they pull it up and you're
Yeah.
like,
There we are.
when I got to do the Bassmaster Championship this year, I mean, that was like 7-year-old me was like flipping out, man. Like, it's
Oh, yeah.
walking around the classic and having, people that know you. It's cool.
It's
And
very neat.
yeah, and it's just getting better and better. And and when you find yourself knowing these people and being involved with these companies that you come to love and know and love, like Jackson, and I mean it's just God, it's just this whole really cool world that's just developing right in front of all our eyes. It's exciting.
It is. It's very exciting, and I think, like you said, it's going to continue to grow. I don't think we've. I think we're kind of in a small space where it's level. I think we're in a holding space. That's just due to the world, but I think it's going to continue to. I think there's another wave coming that's going to be good.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
going to
yeah.
be very awesome.
Well, and that's why that was kind of one of the speed bumps that I had in my opening my kayak and fishing shop plan. Is that we were on this like meteoric, just
Oh yeah,
astronomical blast after COVID and everybody getting outdoors and all that. And I'm like, and that
it's
was
coming.
right when I was first thinking about it. And then it was kind of like I was like, nah, I'm gonna give this a couple of years and wait for that,
Yep.
inevitable fall back.
Yep.
And I think that now we're starting to see industry wise, is you're starting to see it kind of level off right now, maybe
Mhm.
even take a little dip. And that's the people that got into it, spent a bunch of money. I mean, bought an inexpensive kayak or a reasonably priced kayak and outfitted it and really gave the industry a spike. Well, I think those people right now are where I was, however many years ago with that Pescador.
Mhm.
Those people are either going, man, I hate this. This isn't any fun. Or they're like, man, I really love this. So now it's time to
Yeah, get
start
that next
leveling
bump
up.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get that Kusa X and let's get this, let's trade in the Walmart combos. Let's go get some Dobbins rods or some, something,
Yeah.
let's upgrade our kit. And that's where we're at right now is either people are getting out or they're leveling up. So
Yeah, I think, dude, that's an awesome thing to say because I mean, you referenced the Walmart. We all start there.
mhm.
Everybody starts there. It's like you go and you buy all this stuff, and then you're out there and you think you've got good stuff, and you catch that first big fish. You're like, shit, that fish I was outmatched. So
Yeah.
you're back. You're buying something just a little bit better. Then
Yep.
you need this color. Then you need that color, and then you're sitting here with like 80 rods laying around you, going, "Yep,
Yeah, but
that happened."
I'll tell you what, the one rod that I've had the longest is right in that garage, and it's up in the rafters next to all my Dobbins rod tubes. And it is an OG, like when Kmart was fairly new. Uh, Zebco like 202 Kmart branded special that my
Nice.
pawpaw bought me when we were going to hit Lake Fork when Lake Fork first opened,
Mine is
1985 ish.
wow. Mine is actually hanging on the wall over here.
Yeah.
It's the old Snoopy pole. My mom
Oh yeah,
actually my
I remember
mom
those. I
actually
had one.
found one. My mom actually found one like the one I had, bought it for me, brought it to me, and it hangs on the wall. So that's where it all started.
That is awesome.
It's on the wall of memories, as I call it.
I remember my Snoopy pole because you remember it came with that rubber
Yeah.
casting weight thing.
Yeah, I fished it
And
in a
man,
mud puddle.
I used to I used to sit and practice casting that thing. Like, I mean, not we didn't have obviously YouTube and stuff like that. But, I remember watching like Lake Fork guy when he was still just a YouTube dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like casting, practicing, like shooting at the holes in bird houses and like cans and stuff like that. And I mean, that's what we would do. It's like we would sit there and try and cast, and you couldn't do that with that gear, But man, it was fun to try. And then I'd get in trouble for dinging my little brother in the back of the head from 30 yards out. Like it was a blast.
Oh man, that's awesome, man. That's a good beginning and a good start. And what's next? That's the only question I got for you. I mean, the kayak store, it's just getting started.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, like, what's in the far vision though? What's 10 years from now look like? Retirement?
Oh man, no. When I got out of the military, I became a firefighter. I did Army, Navy, then I was firefighter, Sully County, and big city department. And I wound up getting hurt and was forced to retire from there. But one thing that we always noticed was like when the older dudes, the old captains, and the crusty old engineers and stuff like that, when they
Mm-hmm.
retired, like they died, like
Yeah.
within 4, 5, 6 months. I mean, it was just like, so in my mind, like the number one killer of men in America is retirement.
Yeah.
So it's like, So I'm not about it. It's like I will work. I will hustle until I can't stand up anymore, which could be next week. It could be
Yeah,
40
you just
years
never
from
know.
now. I don't know. I mean, I'm always going to have something going on, but I think that ETX paddle sports, the fishing shop I think that's part of that outplant. It's like, the restaurant's doing great. The bar's doing great. I will keep that going as long as that wave keeps rolling. I've
Mm-hmm.
got a great crew that, you know, is just, I mean, they're great. They're doing such good work there that I feel like I could just go on a vacation, maybe not without my cell phone, but but you're still gonna have to call me or be like, hey chef, what do I do? Yeah, get a plunger. Um, but but I mean, I don't know, man. It's I haven't even thought about it. It's like I said, I know the fishing store is part of it because I mean that's the kind of thing that I think if you get one of those going, like with the business model that we have planned is being that neighborhood, tackle shop, where people hang out and whether they be 80 or whether they be 20, and can
Mm-hmm.
hang out, talk fishing and or the old generation talk sideways at the youngers and vice versa, and people tell lies and sit around and drink coffee or close down and we're all drinking beer out the back, out back of the install bay, I don't know, or cooking barbecue, but I mean I think we all know that shop, and so it's like
Yeah.
I just kind of want to build that because no matter what, if I decide to give up cooking or give up tournament fishing or whatever, like that is one of those things that if you just put love into it, like
Yeah, I think
it'll just
so.
keep going, like
Yeah.
it'll just keep going. And I mean, and that's, I don't know who would take it over from him. I've got one kid, he's grown. He just got out of the army. He's an Army Ranger. He just got out and he's off doing his thing. And it's like, I don't know if he would want it or not, my beautiful wife, Bailey, she'll probably be alive a bit after I'm gone. So hopefully she can enjoy it and whatever, sell it, move to Costa Rica or whatever,
Yeah.
But I just hope that it always stays there and it creates just a really cool little community spot and just is that spot for 100 years.
That's good, man. That is really good. So before I let you go, though, Josh Evans give me some really good music. This is not it.
Yeah.
we're like still got the lame music because I never uploaded what Josh sent me, so that's on me. So I'm gonna hit you with 5 random questions. Before
Okay.
we go. 5 randoms. Best fluoro delete or not?
Oh, FG.
FG. Worst travel experience to date?
Flying home from Istanbul, Turkey on Turkish Airways for 15 hours. I was waiting for chickens and goats to start running around the aisles.
There's something there that we'll talk about later. There's something there. That's a good story. Best lake in the United States.
Oh my God, dude.
The best.
Lake is Caddo. Absolutely Caddo Lake.
Man. You want to step on the smallmouth lakes like that? The big northern smallmouth lakes?
I love them, man, but I haven't gone north that much. La Crosse is going to be my first trip really far up north and as an adult. So we'll see. Maybe something can beat it. I'd love to do like Mille Lacs or St. Clair or something like that. So we'll see.
The first dish you ever cooked, put in your mouth and went, that is not it.
Oh man, probably like the first time I ever made chicken tacos when I was playing in a band out in California, and I just like hard boiled a chicken breast and shredded it and put it in a tortilla, and I was like, that's freaking disgusting.
That's kind of a random one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that's what, 4?
You're the one keeping it's your show, bro.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. You think I can count? That's why I play social media. Here's the big one.
All right.
Black and blue or green pumpkin?
Black and blue.
There you guys have it. Oh, I forgot to turn the button on. You survived. You survived 5 questions. We hadn't done that for a while. Zach's like, we got to bring that back, and then he doesn't. He was engaged with kid duty tonight, so he didn't get to make it. Man, I appreciate you being on here. It's fun to get a talk. I'm glad we got to have a show with just you, so you could tell a little bit more about your story, so people could get to know the real Lance just a little bit more.
Well, thanks, brother. I really appreciate it.
Hey, dude, that's what this show's about. With that being said, I want you to thank the people you need to thank. Tell them where to find you on the social worlds.
First and foremost, my wife, Bailey, she is amazing. She's my rock. I could accomplish absolutely nothing without her. Rule number 1 in life is find your best friend and marry her, or him or whatever, like be happy. Thanks, Jackson Kayak, man, about just the greatest people in the world. Dakota Lithium, Missile Baits, Dobbins Rods, Power Pole has believed in me since a lot of people didn't know who I was. Catch Products, Newport Vessels Motors. I mean, man, I can name so many people to thank. Thank Orion Coolers for having me on. Yep. And thank you, sir, for everything that you do for those brands, for the USA Bass and Jackson Kayak Fishing Trail, for all of us TDs that do that. Thank you.
I'm just hanging out for the party, man. That's all I'm here for. I'm for the after party. There you go. So with that being said, we're going to close this thing out. So we want to remind you guys, check us out, jacksonkayak.com. Grab you an Orion cooler or any Orion accessories. Orion Rocks, all one word in the caps. We'll save you 5% right now. That's going to last for a little bit. So if you got your eye on one of these bad boys over there and the other side of me, check them out. Z-Pro Lithium. Thanks to Z-Pro Lithium, keeping me and Zach powered on our adventures this year. We thank them guys over there. They are a great crew of people, and we enjoy hanging out with them. And then Cast King, freaking awesome stuff. Check those guys out. They will make you a believer. The Speed Demon Pro Rod is like become my new obsession. Absolutely love those. And then, as always, thank you to Chris over at Bassco. If you guys haven't checked out any Bassco fishing gear, check them dudes out. They are absolutely awesome. Yeah, that's all I got. Thanks to Lance. Thanks to Jackson Kayak. Thanks to all you guys that watched in the comments. We love you. And we'll see you on the next one.